Breaking, the New York Yankees have an outfield problem. Cam Scatterbo throwing down on Monday Night Raw, and Lane Kiffin to the New York Giants. Just some of the stories that we're going to focus on today on the NY Sports Index. That is Jaime Eisner. I am Chris Schubert, and I normally say talking all things New York sports. Today is that day. There is like 400 stories for us to discuss here on the show. Jaime, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm excited. We have a lot to talk about. I felt like I didn't have a lot of energy on our last show. We were kind of just doing, we didn't have as much to talk about aside from NFL previews. And today we got everything, NFL, MLB, NHL. We got some WWE action in here. You and I talked a little bit before the show trying to figure out what we wanted to start with. And because it is November and because we almost always start with football, we decided we're going to shake it up a little bit today because we have some, I guess, breaking. This came down within the last 15 minutes of us starting recording. Some breaking Major League Baseball news. And one of them involves the New York Yankees and actually will have a significant impact one way or another on some of their off-season plans. So I think we should just start right there and get right into it.
Yeah, the Yankees officially have an outfield problem that Brian Cashman is going to have to solve because Trent Grisham was one of 4 players to accept the qualifying offer. It was Trent Grisham. It was ex-Yankee great Gleyber Torres, Brendan Woodruff, and Shota Imanaga all accepted the 1-year, $22.025 million qualifying offer. If we were doing a just baseball podcast, I would love to have a Shota Imanaga conversation, but we are definitely not going to have time for that today on the show.
It's a fascinating thing, and he's actually probably the most interesting name of the 4, but we're not doing and obviously I'll hear a lot about him here in Chicago, but this is not a Cubs podcast, so we'll talk about the Yankee.
Yeah, let's talk about this because Trent Grisham coming back, I mean, from a pure statistical perspective, was one of the best Yankees last year. So you're happy to bring a player like that back. You're happy to have that player involved in your offense, but it does create a bit of a roster gymnastics that needs to occur. Cody Bellinger's free agency is out there. Yep. They still have Jason Dominguez. Spencer Jones is somebody who's in the pipeline and could be ready sooner rather than later. And so Brian Cashman...
Tucker's out there.
Right.
And I wouldn't rule them out for at least kicking the tires.
So Brian Cashman already very early on in this offseason has a roster puzzle to try to put together. And I don't know if the Yankees expected this with the year that Gresham had. I'm sure they
don't think they did.
So this creates a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, and I really didn't expect this one. Now, like of the 4, Woodruff I expected. Gleyber, it seemed like there were reports coming out the last few days that he was planning on accepting it, so I didn't have any reason to go get those reports. We're not going to talk about Shota Imanaga right now. But, Trent Grisham, everybody kind of assumed, you're coming off a career year. You're coming off not only a career year, but a career year in the spotlight of playing in New York, playing for the Yankees, playing in high-profile moments, and really made a name for himself this year, both. Obviously, he's always had a really good glove, but again, the stage of doing it in New York and doing it for the Yankees elevates the overall perception, at least from fans and media, of what you can be. I think the Yankees expected he would go and cash in on that. This was going to be by far his best opportunity to earn a big paycheck and earn a multi-year deal. And, the other element that's kind of hanging off in the distance is what could very well be a lockout not too very far from now in the Major League Baseball world. And there was also kind of some thought that players like Grisham would want to sign a long-term deal before such a lockout would happen, just in case, there's a salary reduction immediately coming out of it. Now, overall, we tend to see salaries go up in the years following these things, but sometimes that first year afterwards, they come back down to try to account for revenue that could get lost if they were to miss games or play a shortened season or whatnot.
When they miss games.
Yeah, this is going to be a bad one. But let's pretend to be a little optimistic.
Sure, that's fine. That's fine. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you, but when they miss games.
But I was surprised this, and it creates, like you said, a little bit of a logjam for the Yankees because they have some decisions they need to make in the outfield. The principal matter is, the first thing they have to decide is whether or not Cody Bellinger is going to be a long-term piece of this franchise or not. That is decision number 1. And everything else you do cascades off of that decision. If you were deciding that you were going to move on from Cody Bellinger, then you have another decision to make, and it's a 3-way decision to make. Do you go after Kyle Tucker? What does that mean for center field? Because Kyle Tucker's not going to play center field. Judge is not going to play center field. Jason Dominguez is not going to play center field. Giancarlo Stanton's not going to play center field. So you're in a scenario there where you kind of have 4 or 5 outfielders and none of them can play the most important position in the outfield. Is that a situation where they feel like they're going to go after a guy like that? The other piece of the equation there is, do you feel like you're going to go after somebody else? Do you try to go after an O'Neal Cruz, for example, who has moved to center field and is having some success out there? Is that a piece that you can get? Or do you feel Spencer Jones's time is now, and you feel like he could stick at center field, or at least in the short term, and he's going to be your starting center fielder on opening day? Or does that spot just stay with Trent Grisham? And I think you kind of have to cascade all of these backwards, because what I think this Trent Grisham move tells me is one thing. It gives them the ultimate safety net if they can't bring back Bellinger, they don't go get Tucker, they don't do any of these things, they have a safety net at center field in Trent Grisham for 2026. But I also think it's more likely that now he becomes a trade piece for you. And he becomes a piece that you can either move for another piece, or he becomes the catalyst that makes you feel comfortable enough to make a monster move. Because if you make a monster move for, let's say, Tariq Skubal this offseason, I don't think it's going to involve Trent Grisham, but then okay, well, Trent Grisham's going to start for us in center field, because we're going to have to move young pitching, we're going to have to move young players. We're not, maybe it's moving Dominguez, maybe it's moving Spencer Jones, maybe it's moving both. I think the Tigers are going to really want to focus on guys like Schlittler, Heel, or Warren, or some of these other young guys. I think those are going to be the principal parts of a deal if that were to happen. But I also think it's going to involve young bats as well, which then may force you to play Trent Grisham. So to me, this is kind of one of those ones where I didn't expect him to accept that offer. I don't think the Yankees expected him to accept that offer. And it's going to create some challenges. It should not change their off-season plans, hopefully, but it does complicate them a little bit, because if you do bring back Bellinger, for example, then you almost have to trade Trent Grisham. Like, I think at that point you can't pay Bellinger and then you're paying Grisham essentially as a fourth outfielder, or you're not playing one of your young guys. And I think at this point you have to kind of see full-time what you have in Jason Dominguez. You have to find this out this season, assuming he's not part of a trade package for something else. So to me, this necessitates either a safety net if you miss out on some of your other options, or this is going to force them to make a trade away of Grisham, probably at a discount, because teams know you're going to need to move that salary, than otherwise. So I assume the Yankees were just kind of hoping he would walk, wouldn't take the qualifying offer, and then use whatever he got as part of their compensation packages of free agents and everything else that you're going to go into it. But yeah, there's a little bit of a cascading effect to this, and including if they, start signing other free agents, and now he won't count as part of the formula going against that compensation and all the other stuff that kind of goes along with it. You didn't ask me this question, but I'll ask it myself.
Okay.
Since apparently I'm off on a soliloquy here. What percentage chance do I give that Trent Grisham is on the opening day roster for the New York Yankees?
Hey, Jamie, I got a question for
Chris.
you. What percentage chance do you think that Trent Grisham will be on the Yankees opening day roster?
Oh, I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. I would say for 35%. I think 35% chance.
I think it's interesting because in setting up the conversation, I talked about it being a puzzle for Brian Cashman to put together. And I think inherently when you use that phrasing and terminology, it comes with a negative connotation. Like, this is going to be challenging to do. But in listening to you kind of break it down, it also kind of provides a opportunity. And you use the term safety net. It also allows you to aggressively pursue either Bellinger or Tucker, knowing that if you do put all your eggs in that basket and somebody swoops in at the last minute, you're not left at the altar without a dance partner, right? You have a dance partner in Trent Grisham. So it almost opens the door for you to be uber aggressive if you actually want to go out and get Kyle Tucker. Now, Bellinger could play first base. I don't know if that's something that the Yankees would want to explore, like bringing him back, playing him at first base, and having Grisham be the center fielder.
The only way they would do that is if they're committed to Ben Rice being their full-time catcher, or Ben Rice is traded.
And that, you know, what I'm saying, because like, Austin Wells conversation. So yeah.
And look, I think there should be a conversation with Wells. To me, I still think Wells is your starting catcher. He's still a lot better defensively. than Ben Rice at that spot, which is why Ben Rice was moved off of catcher in the first place. But I do think even if Ben Rice can do ideally you would do the juggle where Ben Rice is the backup catcher, everyday first baseman, and then sometimes if you need to in the right scenario, you're able to go Ben Rice at catcher, Bellinger at first base, somebody else in center. But the issue, like to your point, Chris, yes, you can be aggressive. But the other thing is, like we said, do they pull off a big trade? Because a lot of these things kind of have to happen soon-ish because they involve free agents. Like because I just keep bringing up school, they're not trading for Skeens. They're not doing it this year. Maybe somewhere down the road.
But
Great.
Jamie, he told the teammate that he wants to play for the Yankees, so he's going to be a Yankee.
You know what? It's nice to want things, but to me, like Skubal is a realistic possibility. I do think he could get moved this offseason, and I do think the Yankees could match them. In a scenario where that happens, and maybe Ben Rice is moved, and maybe Jason Dominguez is moved, all of a sudden you have room for Bellinger and Grisham, or Spencer Jones and Grisham, or like you start to be able to kind of move some of these pieces around a little bit. Can you match the timelines to make it work? To me, the more I talk about this, the less I think Kyle Tucker's an option because he cannot play center field.
Agreed, because then what are you going to do? Your DH spot is tied up, right? Because Stanton's going to have to play there.
Judge is not moving off of right field, except, yes, he'll play center for a couple games, but he's not moving off the right field primary.
And because I mean, last year showed like you need his bat in the lineup, and if he gets hurt covering more ground in center field, and you lose his bat in the lineup, like let's be honest, what are the Yankees at that point without Aaron Judge?
And the reality is he goes from a strong defensive right fielder to a below average defensive center fielder. You know what I mean? Like, so you're hurting yourself at two spots in that case
by doing that.
So I'm doing that. So I don't see that happening, but. Again, a lot of this depends on those. And the other thing is, like, if you trade for Skubal and you give him a deal, are you able to sign Bellinger again? Do you commit that more of that money because you still have the Judge contract to pay, you still have the Stanton contract to pay, you still have all this other stuff.
You can't tell the Yankees fans that they're not going to spend money. You're going to lose. People are not going to listen.
I can tell you they don't invest 50% of their revenue into their payroll.
I saw that graphic going on.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Media.
Like, there's just a lot of things that kind of go into that equation. Sure. But
and $22 million that you thought you might have had 24 hours ago is now tied up in Trent Grisham.
Exactly. And that money was in your head probably going to Bellinger. I would assume. I mean, I don't have any reason to believe from anything I've read or heard or seen from last season to now that they're not interested in bringing Bellinger back. At market value. They just have to do it. And I don't blame Bellinger for kind of seeing what's out there and testing the market, and you never know. But now that creates a situation where I think if you sign Bellinger now, you have to trade Grisham. So like you're in the spot where there's going to be a trade involved somewhere, or you just strike out everybody and then Trent Grisham's your starting center field.
Which would be a tough pill for a lot of Yankees fans to swallow.
I think it would be. If they can't trade for Skubal and they can't re-sign Bellinger. I know Yankees fans want Tucker. Then it would be a bitter pill to swallow. Now, if that is I guess we got to play him in center field because we got Tariq Skubal, you deal with it.
Sure.
But again, I think it's not the end of the world that this happened. I think there are some scenarios where it's a good thing that this happened, but it makes things a little more complicated for them in the short term as they're kind of looking at all of these other potential options.
Well, and the one thing I would add, and then I want to talk about the Mets here while we're on the topic of baseball. It does, for all the people who are anti-Brian Cashman and they think he deserves to be fired and that he deserves to not be in charge, this logjam that Trent Grisham's just mere appearance on the roster presents, they're like waiting in the bushes now. They're just waiting to see how he handles this, because if he screws it up in their mind, this will just be another thing, despite him having no control over whether or not Trent Grisham signs the qualifying offer or not. They will pounce on this.
He should have given him the qualifying offer. There would have been no reason not to. So like sometimes this happens. Sometimes guys accept these QOs that you have no expectation that they're going to, and it changes your plans.
Right. It impacts what you're able to do. The Mets, Edwin Diaz declined his qualifying offer from the Mets. That was a surprise. Not a surprise. That was the expected outcome there. But talking about the Mets, there are a myriad, how about that for a word usage here today on the pod, of reports that are making one thing in my mind abundantly clear. The New York Mets are open for business. Unless your name is Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor, and Nolan McLean, you could probably be had from the New York Mets.
And Chris, I should say this part, and I don't like to say nice things about you, but I will. This is something that you were championing a couple months ago, or I guess maybe 1 month ago, month and a half when the season ended, that the Mets were going to get rebuilt this offseason, but not rebuilt in the sense that they're a terrible team and they need to be rebuilding, but rebuilt in the new regime's image. That the players that were holdovers from the past regime were not going to be safe, and they would range anywhere from available to please take them from us, and that this was going to be the start this offseason. And this kind of confirms that, because there was like a list of like 6 or 7 names that got reported, I believe, by Jeff Passan on Monday as players that were available. I know we spent a while, about 6 weeks ago, talking about Nimmo and what the flexibility of getting him off of the books would bring the Mets. But yeah, they're very much open for business, and they're very much looking to kind of retool the team in their own image, which I know a lot of Met fans are okay with probably most of those names. I know there's still a lot of hand-wringing about whether or not they should bring back Pete Alonso. And I know Alonso's name's been connected with the Yankees. Alonso's name's been connected with a lot of different teams right now. But this team is going to get rebuilt based on what this new administration values. And I think that's a good thing for the Mets, even if it doesn't necessarily make them a World Series contender in 2026. They still have a lot of key pieces, a lot of young pieces that, quite frankly, some of them that you want to just see get some playing time. And I think this could actually end up being a really interesting offseason for the Mets that sets them up long-term to be a lot more successful than just being a team that can make the playoffs.
Well, and this also goes to another point that I think I've long said here on the pod, that I know that there are so many fans out there that just want a rubber stamp of a Pete Alonso contract and an Edwin Diaz contract because they're two notable Mets that have had great moments, and Mets fans love them and they want them to be a part of the future. And I've long said that you can't run back the same team that missed the playoffs in the way that this Mets team missed the playoffs. And I think what Passan is reporting and what I kind of threw out there last month is proof that the Mets are doing the post-op that everybody wants their team to normally do. We get the lip service of, oh, we're gonna take a look at everything. We're gonna evaluate everything. And you're like, yeah, are you really going to do that? And now actions speak louder than words, and right now this is just words, but it does feel like the Mets are actually going through with the thing we want teams when they have that type of disaster. Let's just call it what it was. September was a disaster for the Mets. For that to happen, you have to uncover everything. And the Passan story, I'll read the names. Luisano Acuna, Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil. All listed as could be had. Now, let's just go through it. They want McNeil gone because they want to open up second base for Jet Williams. They want Nimmo gone because there's 5 more years left on that deal. David Stearns didn't sign it, and Nimmo has deteriorated over the last couple of years. Defensively was really bad last year, and offensively, I think it was like a 780 OPS. He was nowhere near what that contract...
They're going to eat money on that to get that off the books.
And I think, did the exercise of what it would actually take for them to do it. And he does have a no-trade clause, so that's going to complicate things. Mark Vientos. They would be selling low, but they penciled him in, put him in Sharpie at third base, and that was a disaster. Brett Beatty, you would be selling high. That might be your ticket as part of a Tariq Skubal package if there's a willingness on Detroit's side to take back major league hitters. They're trying to open up an outfield spot for Carson Bench. Center field is open basically right now with Tyrod Taylor functioning as the starter, but it will probably shift to the 4th outfield spot. So there are players in the pipeline that the Mets need to open up spots for. And again, he'll never say it out loud. He'll never use it as an excuse, but I'll say it here on the show. This is not David Stearns' roster yet. It just isn't. Go around the diamond. Most of these players outside of Juan Soto are not players that he gave big time money to. The biggest contract he has given out to a free agent, not named Juan Soto, is a 3-year, $75 million deal with Sean Manaea. He's been log jammed in some spots. That's not excusing what happened. The failures of not getting a starter at the deadline, the failures of not improving the offense, they belong on his shoulders. But I have long said that this was the offseason where we would see him remake this team, and you're starting to see it through leaks that's what they're going to try to do.
Yep. Makes perfect sense. And I think that this is a scenario where if you trust the administration involved, we talked about this a lot with the Jets when they moved all the guys. And what do we say? It's like if you're putting the trust, if you put the trust in the new regime and their evaluation and their process, then you'll be fine. That's the same thing that's happening here. if you put your trust that they're going to go get their guys and set the team up with the way that they want it structured, then it will be fine, even if the names are going to look a lot different.
One more quick baseball note, because I'm saying this as we're recording. John Heyman reporting that the Gresham decision doesn't affect the Yankees' pursuit of Cody Bellinger, which he is classifying as a priority. So
yeah, that makes sense. Like I said, it doesn't change anything until there's another action.
Correct.
And it will force a move at some point, but right now it doesn't change anything.
This is not a sentence I ever thought I would utter out loud. Cam Scadaboo was at Monday Night Raw in Madison Square Garden and caused quite an issue on social media for getting physical during Monday Night Raw. This is like a melding of our worlds.
Yeah, this
like
is right up our alley. Former FRS Slam hosts here.
I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a wrestling guy. I don't have a problem with this at all. Like,
I didn't either. I look. I know the reaction is going to be he's hurt. He's got an injury. Why is he getting physical? But it's not like he got in the ring and took a power slam or was running around. Like he was standing. He was like standing in the first row. He shoved Dominic Mysterio. Like he shoved him.
Right. Okay. To use another New York athlete. Jalen Brunson has hopped the barricade and he's done an angle with Tyrese Halliburton in the ring. Like if you did that, then there's
with
more
the injured hand. Remember, he was holding his hand, and that caused that whole thing with him holding the chair and the hand. Yeah, I mean this was a whole lot of nothing. In terms of, it was fun to see, and obviously as a Scadaboo fan, as a wrestling fan, it was kind of fun to see that interaction. You also, I think they got a little bit of camera time, but you got Cooper DeJean and Big Dom from the Eagles that were there as well. So there's some other sports connections. A few different Giants players were there, but look, Scadaboo is streaming full time now. He seems to be in good spirits, and is kind of been moving around a little bit. I mean, not a lot, but considering the shape of the lower part of his leg not too long ago,
sure,
it's pretty encouraging that he's up and about and around as much as he is.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. It's not like he hopped the barricade and gave somebody a clothesline, or like you said, got power slammed or power slammed somebody. Like, this is a nothing.
It was
burger.
nothing. He shoved somebody. Also, by the way, he's not coming back this year.
Right. It's not like something he did here could have impacted his ability to return.
And from a standing position, if shoving somebody is he's fine. Like, he didn't jump at anybody. He didn't come over the rail. You know what I mean? He initiated the contact. The contact was initiated on him. That matters. This is fine. It also reminds me of, like, I love these interactions because you mentioned the Tyrese Halliburton and Jalen Brunson confrontation. I go all the way back to, this is probably a little bit before you started watching wrestling, but watching Pac-Man Jones. Were you watching TNA at that point?
That's TNA World Tag Team Champion Pac-Man Jones to you and I.
Yeah, Pac-Man Jones, when he got suspended from the NFL,
decided to go wrestle.
And decided to go wrestle, although he was banned from being physical at all. So they had to work tag team matches. It was him and the artist currently known as R-Truth, who's now in WWE, were tag team champions, and they had to work matches where Pac-Man Jones couldn't get physical in any capacity. He couldn't push anybody either. So they had to somehow work tag matches where he would not get involved or only be in to take get the pin at the end. It's a fascinating kind of connection. But no, this is much ado about nothing. This is fun. I was not worried in the slightest about a re-injury or problems like this. And by the way, neither should the Giants organization.
If this is a nothing burger, the complete opposite is the Abdul Carter situation, which has really become something. Now, Carter spoke today, denied that he slept through a walkthrough, said that he was getting treatment at the time. He called the missed practice an honest mistake. And Jamie, for a team that has already fired their coach, could potentially move on from their general manager, has a lot up in the air for their future, their first-round pick being at the center of a controversy in a lost season, certainly not what you want, is I think the way that I would describe it. He was benched during the game on Sunday because of this. And, there's now this... When you lose a coach, when you fire a coach, there tends to be a power void. And when that happens, that's when the information starts to get out. And you're starting to see the Dable let him get away with this. And you're starting to see those stories kind of now appear because Dable's not around. And I'm fascinated by that this is now the time that those stories are starting to drop. But not a good look for Carter, not a good look for the organization. They really need to button this up. Carter's got to get on the same page with the team. Team's got to get on the same page with Carter because you don't want this to spiral in a lost season where this can just get worse and worse and worse.
Correct. Right now, it's not an issue, but it could become one. And so this is the pivotal path to see which fork in the road that you take from here. One, based on the loose amount of information that has been reported in other instances, it does seem like that it is plausible that Brian Daboll just let this go. There have been, as we talked about a little bit when he got fired, and kind of some of the rumblings that always come out after that. One of them was he needed to be the head coach for more than just the quarterback. That was kind of a sentiment that got echoed by a couple different reporters, and that would be consistent with this of maybe not, or being too lax or not paying attention to other players that might be missing meetings, missing times. With Abdul Carter, obviously it's on him as a player and a professional to, for whatever reason, be in his meetings on time, be where he needs to be on time, or have whatever the proper pieces of information communicated if for some reason he's not going to be there because he's in the trainer's room or whatever. He didn't get benched because he was in the trainer's room. Whether he was sleeping at the facility or not, whatever, he missed meetings. And at the end of the day, or was late to meetings a lot, I should say. At the end of the day, this could be nothing. We saw on Monday Night Football, the first drive of the game for the Dallas Cowboys, two very prominent players did not get a chance to participate in CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. They didn't really explain what it was other than team discipline. Typically, when it's something like this, it is either you missed a meeting or you missed curfew, right? Like those are the two things that would only get you benched for a starter benched for one series and not become a greater instance.
Or
right?
benched for an entire Super Bowl in some cases.
And yes, in some cases. So, this is kind of one of those things where it is not nothing, but it could be nothing. The question is how does Abdul Carter and this staff react from here? And good on Mike Kafka and company for saying, hey, look, I might be the interim coach. I might not even be coaching you next year, but we're going to have to establish some sort of rhythm here. And I doubt this was the first time he was late to a meeting because they don't ever suspend you usually for the first, or I should say suspend you for the first time you do these things. These you never hear. By the way, it kind of goes the same thing for most of the drug suspensions that you see in the NFL as well. Usually it's not by the time you hear about it, it ain't the first one. So this is definitely something to keep in mind. I'm not panicking about it yet, but it's something to note, and it's something to worry about on a team that is really spiraling and losing right now. And again, power vacuum. They don't have a lot of veteran. I mean, they have some veteran players on their team, but a lot of the veteran players on the team have either been gone or got hurt. So how many guys are out there and doing the everyday activities? And for those of you that kind of know, guys that have major injuries, they're basically on a completely different team than the rest of the team. And so sometimes when you have the guys like a Micah McFadden who got hurt earlier in the season, you have guys like that on your defense that are gone. Even though they're on the team, even though they're rehabbing, they're on a different schedule. They're not managing the day-to-day as some other would. You have a rookie quarterback, so you don't have that veteran 10-year quarterback that's leading the team. And you don't have a full-time head coach right now. So there's a lot of things happening. And oh, by the way, your head coach would continually belittle the defensive coordinator, who should be the head coach of your defense. So players see you talking and acting that way to your defensive coordinator doesn't exactly give them confidence that he's going to be the leader that they should follow either. So there's a lot of pieces that kind of go into this, but I say all of that to say it's not a problem yet. Let's hope it's not the first seed to a bigger problem.
Jamie, Jay Glazer on Sunday, ahead of the Jameis Winston experience that we all got to enjoy in that 27-20 game against the Packers, shared a list of names for potential interviews for the next head coach of the Giants and said that he did not expect the Giants to go into the college ranks. So perhaps that rules out Lane Kiffin, although we can talk about that here on the show. I want to rapid fire these with you, and I want an excitement scale, 1 to 10. How excited?
We did not plan on this pre-show, so this is going to be a full, authentic, what I think, right off the top of my head.
So these are the list of 6 names that Glazer said that he believes the Giants are going to be interested in speaking with.
All right, excited on a 1 to 10, 10 being most excited, 1 being I want to jump out the window. Got it.
Mike McCarthy.
6.5.
Wow, so that you're setting, that's the bar now. So that's the bar. At Nagy.
2.5.
Lou Anarumo.
2.5. I like Lou. I think there's different reasons for both. I think Lou's a better coach at his job right now than Matt Nagy is a coach at his job.
Former Giants assistant.
If it's going to be a defensive guy, I need it. I need somebody with a little bit more juice in my mind.
Okay, you ready for this? You defensive guy, you want more juice? Steve Spagnuolo. How about that for juice? There you go.
5.
So right now, I've got 2 names left. Right now, Mike McCarthy is the next Giants head coach in your mind, based on this of your excitement.
The names you've given me, yes, the ones I'm most excited about. Yeah.
When I think of innovative offenses and helping develop a young quarterback in year 2, I think of Arthur Smith.
1. Look, Arthur Smith deserves to be an offensive coordinator in the National Football League, but I just don't believe he is a good fit for where the Giants need to go. He needs to be – Pittsburgh's the perfect place for him. You know why? Because he needs – well, in theory, although the Steelers aren't playing this way this year, but like he needs to go somewhere with an elite defense and just an offense that can get a lot of mid pieces involved. He is one of those guys that I think if you put him on a mid offense, he can get the absolute most and more the sum of the parts. But if you put him on a good offense, he will stifle them. If that makes sense to anyone.
No, I hear you. The last name.
So no.
Another defensive coordinator. We'll see if this brings the juice for you. Chris Shula.
I would say 6.
So so of this group, Mike McCarthy is the guy you're most excited about to be the next head coach of the New York Yankees.
It's not a great group of names.
That's not a great group.
That you're giving me.
No, it's not my list. Jay Glazer.
I'm telling you. I think Chris Shula is going to get some looks. I think at least if you're going to go with the defensive guy, I would like you to go with a younger guy. The question always becomes with all of these is who are you bringing? And I think that the thing that McCarthy is a little bit more excited about is he does have a lineage of coaches that he can bring to the table, veteran coaches on both sides of the ball that he has experience with. It will be a lot easier for him to make those hires than it will be some of these guys that are going to be first-time head coaches. But of that group, I do think McCarthy is the best choice of those names that you gave me.
Here's what I'll say. This can't be the group. Like, we need to do better than this.
Well, let me give you some other names because our good friends over at Big Gambling have provided a list of names that are available. I'm trying to pull it up right now. The number 1 name on the list was Lane Kiffin, and I don't think that's going to happen, although he is on his own fascinating journey right now. And I wish if we were a college football show, I could spend 2.5 hours on just what's happened with Lane Kiffin in the last 48 hours. But
yeah, it's wild.
As I pull up the name, because I kept talking and didn't actually pull up the names, which was
Marcus Freeman was another name that Glazer said that he didn't think the Giants would be interested in.
Don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, he ruled out college coaches. So like Ryan Day.
I think the only college. Well, no, you know what? I wouldn't.
Okay.
I'm not going to rule out college.
What college coach are you ruling in?
I think there are 2 names you should watch.
Okay. All right. Let me see if I can try to put.
Well, one of them you already know. I just said his name 6 times already on the show.
Wait, Lane Kiffin, you need to keep an eye on just because of the Jackson Dart connection.
Yeah.
Right?
There's one more. I think there's a chance. I'm not saying it's going to happen. There's one more. I think there's a chance.
What conference does this coach coach in?
The Southeastern Conference.
He currently coaches in the Southeastern Conference.
He has not been fired.
He's not Brian Kelly. Okay. Currently coaches in the Southeastern Conference. This is not where I thought you were going to go. I thought you were going to tell me Lincoln Riley made sense.
Here's the thing. I don't think Lincoln Riley's going anywhere, period. But I don't think he's leaving college.
You were going to try to convince me that Steve Sarkisian should get a shot.
I think Sark has a really decent chance of going to the NFL this year. Again, he wouldn't be my top pick. I'm just saying I think he's got a legit shot to go to the NFL. And if he does, I don't think he's locked into going to frickin' Tennessee.
Tennessee would be the place. I was just thinking about it. Like, Tennessee is a really good spot for him.
Is it?
Yeah, and here's why.
Why? With that ownership group? Like, I don't... In that roster?
It's quarterback talent, right? I'm still in on Cam Ward.
I don't have issue with Cam Ward, but that's literally might be the worst roster in football. Like, them and the Saints are... And I guess maybe the Jets now, after all their trades. I mean, they need everything. Like, that's a long rebuild.
Well, who else is going to be available? What jobs are going to open up?
So...
Because I think I don't.
That's a different crowd. You want to get into that? Because I think there could be more than you think.
Because here's the rub, right? With Sark, I don't know, because at Texas, expectations were super high and he's missed the mark. That's part of the reason why he would be driven out. So he has to be careful because I don't think he can pick a place that has either big market expectations or just where they're at in their life cycle, big expectations, because I think he'll miss the mark there.
No, I get it, but I don't think the Titans are a good situation for anybody now.
Well, there's only
but
32
I mean,
of them. Somebody's going to take it.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to leave Texas. He's not getting fired. I don't care if he loses to...
Are you sure?
I don't think he'll get fired this year. I don't.
Okay.
Even if he loses to A&M and they miss the playoff, I don't think he gets fired this year. So I don't think he's like, oh, I got to take a job or I'm screwed. All right, so so Tennessee is available. The Giants available. I'm just going to go back from the back of the standings. Browns, 40% chance available. Talk about a job I would not want to touch with a 20,000-foot pole.
No.
Jets, not going to be available. Raiders, maybe.
If I was Steve,
I think that's 50-50.
Oh, I think they need to move on from Pete. They missed.
I agree. I just don't whether they give him one more year, and I don't know. But I think that's the 50-50.
They misjudged where their roster was. They got a win now coach and didn't have a win now roster.
Yeah.
They just missed on.
Vegas, interesting.
You just said Vegas.
No, I'm saying for Sark.
Oh.
Commanders, no. Falcons, I think so.
Ooh, Sark.
I think the Falcons job becomes available
Penix
this offseason.
Jr. Bijan
No, but Michael
Robinson.
Penix Jr. has a fourth knee injury, and
I mean, you of all people know where I stand on Michael Penix. Where I stood on Michael Penix at the time. This was always my concern with him.
Stand on his legs, they'll break. That's also a team, but they don't have a first-round pick because they decided to give it to the Rams for James Pierce Jr.
Well,
by the way, is playing good football, but it's not worthy of the pick that they gave up for.
By
the way, they handed the Rams. They could have potentially handed the Rams the Matthew Stafford replacement. So thanks, Atlanta. Bengals.
Ooh,
that's the interesting one to me. Because if they go on from Zach Taylor, I know everybody's convinced they're just going to hire Joe Brady. It's been, Joe Brady, Coach Burrow for 2 years?
It's going to be a battle royale. You know who really should take that job? And I'm just now his biggest stand now on this podcast. That's where Cliff Kingsbury should go.
Yeah.
That's where Cliff Kingsbury should go.
I think Cliff's going to have a lot of choices where he's going to be their top option, I think.
And this is a year where he's still going to be a hot name. He's got to get out now.
No, you get out right.
He has to get out now.
You get out right. No. If he gets offered a head coaching job and doesn't take it, he's insane. Go back to Arizona. No. Arizona, maybe.
Should be.
But I doubt
don't know if it will be, but it should be.
Miami, no. I don't actually think they're going to move on from McDaniel.
No, you're getting a new general manager. What the new general manager?
I don't think they're going to move on. You know why? Because I don't think the owner's going to let him move on from McDaniel.
Then you are going to get a below average GM choice then.
Probably. Well, they'll just keep Champ. But we'll see. And then everybody else is O'Connell's not getting fired. LaFleur's not getting fired. None of these other guys are getting fired. Tomlin's not getting fired. So to me, if you're looking at the jobs for Sark, you're talking Tennessee, the Giants, maybe the Falcons, and the Bengals become the really interesting pieces. But back to the original thing was Giants coaches specifically.
That's what we do here. Yeah.
So based on the betting odds, which again, they don't have inside information here. They just are looking to bet. So they got Lane Kiffin as the favorite at 5-1. Mike Kafka, current interim, at 6-1. Clint Kubiak, 8-1. I would have some level of excitement about Clint Kubiak. Joe Brady, 8-1. I actually don't have a level of excitement for Joe Brady. I think he's fine in the role he is. I'm not pushing for him to be head coach. Cliff, 9-1. We talked about him being a potential fit. We spent a good amount of time on that before. Jesse Minter, 9-1, again, kind of falls into the other categories. And then you've got like Mike McCarthy, John Gruden, Sark, all those guys. So we'll see. But like I said, of the list of names you gave me, 6.5, of the list of every name that we've talked about, I'd probably be most excited about Cliff. But yeah, I don't think this is going to be I don't think there's a no doubt hire out there because it's going to be interesting. And what do some of these college coaches get involved? Because the NFL timeline and the college timeline are not aligned when it comes to coach movement. So we'll see.
2 more stories before we get out of here. We have to talk about Mike Sullivan missing some time for the Rangers, and the Jets made a quarterback change. So I will let you pick which of those stories we focus on. Since we're talking football, do you want to stay with the Jets? And then
Yeah, let's stay with the Jets for this one.
So it's official. It will be Tyrod Taylor here starting this week against the Ravens, the move that needed to be made. I'm more intrigued as to who lines up as the QB2 on Sunday, more so than Tyrod starting. Do they elevate Brady Cook to be the backup, or do they let Fields be one? And it's Tyrod, so this statement feels very applicable. One hit away from Justin Fields being back in the game under center for your team trying to win the game. So is it Fields or is it Brady Cook? But this is a move that needed to be made. The Jets are in evaluation mode. I will continue to say it. They are trying to figure out who they want to. By doing what they did at the trade deadline, they told you, the record does not matter. Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn will be back next season. So the rest of this year, results be damned, is about Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji figuring out which players are their guys and that they want to build this thing around and which players they want to move on from. So they need to put every single player that they are evaluating on this roster in a position to succeed. And for guys like Adonai Mitchell, for guys like John Mechie, for players like Mason Taylor, for the running back room, for Jeremy Ruckert, for everybody on this roster, Tyrod Taylor is the best quarterback they have right now to fairly evaluate those players to determine what you have. So this is the move that needed to be made. And to me, the more important decision is who is the backup on Sunday. Because if you just get to a place where Fields is the backup on Sunday, then you did this because it's the right thing to do, but you didn't actually think the next step ahead in terms of, okay, then this guy's going to be in the game when Tyrod Taylor gets knocked out, because that's just kind of been the thing about Tyrod Taylor's career.
Yeah, at this point, we talked about it a lot in the last show, but you just need a quarterback that's going to keep the offense on schedule. I know that's a cliche, but it really applies here. You're technically trying to win the game, I know, but you're also more importantly trying to evaluate everybody. And right now, the way Justin Fields has been playing quarterback all season long, he is not giving you the ability to evaluate the rest of your roster.
Well, and to that point, he's also not giving you a chance to win. So it's
that too. So at this point, you just need a quarterback to go through the motions of a standard quarterback. And I think that's where we are with the Jets at this point is, as we talked about in the last show, you're just evaluating every piece. You're Mitchell and Taylor and your offensive. You're just in an evaluation phase at this point, and you just need a quarterback that will allow you a proper lens to evaluate the rest of your offensive talent. Because right now, it's not happening for Justin Fields. And to your point, Chris, that's why honestly he should be the emergency third quarterback. Because at this point, if Tyrod gets hurt and he misses time in the game or misses time in general, not only do you want to see what happens with Brady Cook, but at least Cook will give you a chance to keep the offense on schedule. If he looks like he's completely in over his head, then you can go back next week to Fields being the backup. You know what I mean? Like, you can always go back. What's stopping you? You need to learn. It's the fog of war, right? There's a time you need to learn the unknowns right now. And instead of keep playing the knowns that are not winning you football games anyway, you might as well play the unknowns and seeing if you can learn a little bit about the rest of that offensive roster.
Well, and let's war game it out, right? Let's play it out. You make Brady Cook the backup this week, right, as the QB2, and Tyrod gets hurt, needs to leave for a series or leave for a quarter or whatever, and Brady Cook comes in. He plays great. Now, all of a sudden, we have a different conversation of, Tyrod Taylor's not your guy. Maybe you let Brady cook. You see what you got here in this kid. Or you put him in there and it doesn't work out. One, the fans are going to give you the utmost grace that you made the right decision and you put him in the game and you saw what you have. And then no one's going to fault you from going to Fields because they're now going to have seen it with their own two eyes. This kid can't play right now. He's not ready. They still need to work with him behind the scenes. So there's nothing to lose and almost everything to gain as a coaching staff with the goodwill of your fan base, right?
Yeah,
by
you're not committing to anything. Right. You're literally committing to none of these quarterbacks, not only long term, but week to week, right? So, you might as well just see how it plays out.
Right, agreed 100%. Last story we want to talk about, and this is always a weird type of topic to discuss because we don't know exactly what's going on, but Mike Sullivan missed the Rangers game on Sunday. Looks like he's going to miss some more time for them moving forward, the
Post kind of reported that it looks like he's going to miss some more games.
They're just calling it a personal matter. The David Quinn, one of the assistants, they're splitting duties to two assistants.
Him and Sacco.
And the quote that I have here is, "I don't have an update right now. Obviously, from the coaches to the players to the organization, we are certainly thinking about Mike and his family. Never an easy situation when you've got to attend to your family," end quote. So mentioning family there twice makes me think that that's what's going on here. So best wishes to Mike Sullivan. And obviously when coaches and players to step away. That it obviously takes a lot to get to that point, because sometimes you like to stay doing what you're doing because it's a distraction from other stuff. So when it gets to this point, obviously it's something very serious. So we did at least want to touch on it here on the program. But best wishes to Mike Sullivan, who's going to miss some time.
Best wishes to Mike Sullivan, and from just a pure on ice standpoint, it's probably not a huge deal in the short term. Just because, especially in hockey, it's your system and all this other stuff. You have a lot of assistant coaches. You have a lot of the way that hockey is formulated. You can go extended periods without your head coach, or even with a new head coach we've seen often, and be successful. So hopefully he takes as much time as he needs. Everything with his family turns out as good as it can be, given whatever the situation he's facing. And it really shouldn't impact the Rangers too much on the ice. They've got a good group of assistants. They got veteran leadership on that team. They've been playing better hockey now that they actually can win a home game. Just best wishes, obviously, to all involved. But I think even just another statement, like, don't even worry about the on-ice part. I don't think there's going to be an appreciable difference in win-loss record or point percentage while he is out, compared to if he were to have been, here for however many games he misses.
Got through a lot in that show. A lot on the docket. We got through as much of it as we could. We'll have another episode for you later on this week. We'll get you ready for the football action with both teams playing over the weekend. And now, Jamie, I mean, all bets are off. High alert. Baseball moves can happen at any moment now. Feels like Josh Naylor off the board. Qualifying offers now have been accepted or declined. So it feels like teams might be ready to break this thaw a little bit, and we may start to see some moves. And the expectation is that both of our teams are going to be heavily active, and so we'll be here to break it all down on the NY Sports Index. In the meantime, please rate, review, subscribe to the podcast wherever you are listening to us. If you are watching us on the YouTube side of things or in Spotify, share the video, send the video to a friend. Definitely helps us out a ton. Speaking of the video, 2 ways to watch: the NY Sports Index YouTube channel, and you can also watch the show over on our Spotify feed. Sometimes it's a little delayed in when the audio drops and then the video gets uploaded, but you can definitely go back and watch all of the video versions of the show over there if that is of interest to you. We're back later on in the week. Get you ready for the football weekend and anything else that happens in the baseball world. We'll talk to you then.